that about professionalism.
Okay, good.
You're welcome. This may sound geeky, but I actually, before every appointment, I'll print out a couple of pages that'll have the client's name across the top with a little header in green for Team Freedom and the date. It's just blank. One for myself and one for the client. Now in the ASAP sort of idea, like I just walk in with this. I don't necessarily keep in business card, as you said, Sherry. There's no pen, there's no paper. The idea is it's a 30-minute appointment. I'm professional, I have to remember all the stuff. However, the trainee has the heading in the paper and a pen, and let them know that, you know, they're taking notes because they're learning in things. And before the appointment, let the trainee know, like, listen, write down everything, you know, take copious notes, because when we debrief, I'm going to write, like, when I get back in the car, I'm going to write down all the stuff I remember, and then we'll compare and contrast. And being prepared in the car. Like, I know a lot of times when you go to an ASAP, it would be great if it could turn into a data collect. It looks way better if you've got your little box in your car, and then if it turns into a data collect, and well, we could go, you know, they're like, oh yeah, I totally want a written financial plan. You know, how do we get that started? Well, we could, you know, make an appointment. We could actually grab the data really quick if we've got another half an hour. But I have to go out to my car and grab, you know, the appropriate form. So it speaks even more volumes because you didn't bring a briefcase full of stuff just going, because I have an application in here, because I know, and I can run illustrations on this, like, you know, this is just this, trainee taking notes. If it leads to something else, let me just pop out to my car, you know, or if the trainee's driving, remember to grab the box out of your car and stick it in the trainee's car. You know, ideally it won't be covered in clutter. You won't have to just sit there with your freaking box. But yeah, so that's pretty much just the professionalism is, you know, letting the people know that, you know, they're here training and learning and to take notes. So it's just the blank piece of paper with their little name at the top and the date. There's something that says, they're like, oh my god, this is like serious. It's like an appointment. And then when we have the data collection stuff, I hand them a blank one with their name and date on it.
Okay.
So they can take notes.
Could I add something?
Please.
Remember when we were out? How quickly after the appointment did we debrief? Right.
Like before we even got to the car, we had to like almost, you know.
We had to shut up and walk before we started talking.
Right.
And
That's a good point of professionalism
such...
afterwards. I remember literally one of my teammates was like high-fiving me like on the lawn.
No.
I'm like,
keep it
cool,
cool.
keep it cool.
But the other thing is, when you've been on that appointment and there is a commitment, it is so important that you immediately begin to work on the plan for that person. And if your trainer doesn't, you have every responsibility to say, okay, they want something, they need our help. When can we sit down? You take control of it at that point, because that's the breakdown. If the trainer does all of the program, the trainee has learned nothing.
Right.
Nothing.
And as the trainee, you have to make yourself available to schedule the appointment to get in your trainer's schedule and not assume your trainer is going to chase you to train you.
Correct.
But how much do you want to become obligated? How much do you really want to help a person? You're going to make it happen.
Right. You would think, yeah.
Oh, and the last thing about it, because there's sometimes a habit when we're there and that they want to come back for a data collect. Well, how about this time next week? I've had to really shift my mindset on this a lot, where this is fresh. Let's get this done in the next day or two. Like if it's Wednesday, well, how about Friday evening or Saturday morning at the latest, and get in the and get that done quickly. Because if you postpone next week, same bat time, same bat channel.
Who's doing the trainee, but who's doing the next appointment with them?
Both
the trainee and the trainer. Both people.
Both people.
I think
That's
she's
the ideal
talking about
situation.
Because
in between the first appointment and the second appointment, there's research that needs to be done and stuff inputted into the computer for the financial needs analysis. And I think what they're emphasizing is you want to do that sooner rather than later, because sometimes if you wait a few days, you might not remember everything as clearly or as sharply. And then also we've all learned that sometimes you think you've got everything and you forgot something. So instead of contacting them the day before and asking, oh, what's your date of birth? You want to, if you miss something, you want to catch it like 2 days later, not like an hour before the appointment type of thing.
Well,
Did you have another question on that too?
No, I was just thinking, is it the trainee's responsibility to make the appointment with them, the next appointment,
You never
go
leave
out?
an appointment without setting the next.
So the ideal is that like in an instance where, let's say, Michelle's running point yet, right, where you're not quite to the point
James
where
and
you're
Glenn,
presenting.
I wanted to use that.
At the end of
Can
the
you guys help me?
presentation, Michelle closes them and says, so and so, let's come back, or let's come to this. So Michelle's doing the nuancing of either setting the appointment or setting a time for the BPM. Then
We did that.
yeah, and then when you are running point and running the presentation, and she's kind of keeping an eye on you and giving you feedback afterwards and getting you validated, you'll be the one who runs, the point, and
Yeah.
closes them on the idea of the next appointment and things.
Yeah, we did
And-
that.
and-
At
and-
first I was thinking, did I do something wrong? Is the way you're saying it, and I'm like, oh gosh, maybe I did something wrong.
No. I just there have been times where I was out in the field and it's easy enough to just say, like, when do you want to get back together again? Is this time next week a good time?
Yeah,
Right?
right.
That's 7 days in between the presentation that got them excited about getting a financial plan done, right? Maybe they don't have time to collect data, so that you're gonna come back and get data. Make that appointment
So,
a couple of days out, sooner than later, so that, the idea is that a week from now, you're signing an application. Or, I'm saying they're getting started with their plan. Because you have a couple days, you come and collect data, say you saw them on Monday, Wednesday you come back and get all their details, and then at the end of that Wednesday appointment, they say, well, Friday night's not gonna work, Saturday morning works. Well, Saturday morning we've got, we've got our commitment, but how about Saturday at noon or 1 o'clock after lunch? Then after the BPM, you come and do the presentation of, their plan and the recommendations. So it's like almost less than a week from getting them excited about having a written plan
We did it right.
to having it in advance, yeah.
yes, you did it right.
Yeah, oh, totally.
Yeah.
No, like I said, my
appreciate
bringing it up
you
was
saying
that with the, years ago at the start, it was a week and a week and a week and a week, and it was, and I personally had to rein that in and make it,
24 to 72 hours.
yeah.
It's just like an AMA, guest AMA, 24 to 72 hours.
Okay.
There's a sense of
Just
urgency
like-
here. They
Yeah.
need
The
us.
scope of appointment.
Absolutely.
And can I just mention something that I can't believe nobody brought up is that part of being prepared, it doesn't matter if you're the trainer or the trainee, is you look at the flip chart. You listen to the YouTube. You listen to either Mark doing the ASAP or Edson talking about the philosophy of the ASAP. Like, even as a trainer, I'm still listening to
Good.
the YouTubes
Yes.
and I'm reviewing the ASAP and I'm going over the questions, and that's part of knowing, like, getting to know the client before, like, not even just leading up to the appointment, but when the appointment's scheduled, is, alright, it's like, okay, Jeanette, tell me a little bit about your aunt, so that way I'm already thinking of disturbing questions to put in here, because those change from client to client. You disturb a teacher a little bit different than you can disturb a construction worker or a doctor, so you want to make sure that like, you're making sure that you know what you're saying in your mind as a trainer, and then you want to know what's in the flip chart as a trainee, so you can listen to the things that are on the page. You're not focused on what I'm reading off the page, but you're more focused on to what I'm saying and why am I saying those things.
Okay. So I don't have YouTube, I have to get it.
We'll work on that.
Just go step by step. Remember that everybody here is at different stages and whatnot, and
Okay.
for example, I just barely set up my website this past weekend. And I had access to this. I don't know when this became available, but I just did it this weekend. So who already has their personal website set up just like this?
I have that one. I can't get my other one through compliance.
Okay.
Personal website.
This is thank you. So I wanted to share with you guys for a couple different reasons. One is because here under the tab presentations, I'm going to be going here to use the Achieve Your Dreams, which is one of many ways to access a presentation on the computer. So I didn't know it was so easy till I got this website. So we're going to use Achieve Your Dreams, which is very similar to the Concepts and Strategies, which is very similar
Well, this
to...
is the same
That's
one.
interesting that that's
It's because of sell. He must have activated salesman.
I don't know what I did, but I will say that I bought that at convention. But when I go on my website, this is the available presentation.
That's funny.
That's
One and the same.
And that's better anyway.
and these are so I've used both and but these are also here's the thing is typically speaking, may I use yours as an example?
Well, this isn't the brand. This isn't the 2017 one. This is last year's.
Okay, so there's what I've noticed over the last few years is they keep changing the cover and the title, but the inside stays very, very similar. So one option is to completely skip the outside of it and to just start on the first page. That's acceptable. Another strategy is to have an opening statement or an opening sequence, or to, because for me, when it comes to system and structure and teaching, and if when you're teaching someone the ASAP and they need to get good at it, one idea that you might do here is have a set thing like, okay, when I'm on this page, this is let me think of because I don't have the answer yet. This is part of like a workshop type thing, right? So like let's go around the room and just not everybody, but raise your hand if you could tell me your way of starting this first page. For example, I might say something like, Hope, John, our company is all about achieving your dreams. Our goal is to help people who want to come work with our company to achieve their dreams, their dreams of income and lifestyle. And then we also have the dreams of our clients. A lot of them, they want to retire with dignity, or they want to have proper protection if they, when life gets in the way and they pass away, they want their loved ones protected. And so we help our clients as well as our associates achieve their dreams. So you might have like an opening statement that personally I would hone and get better and improve. But you understand where I was going with that. There's another one that looks a lot like this, but it says concepts and strategies. So you might say, one thing that I love about World Financial Group is that we're an education-based company. We're not focused on, we're not like a State Farm that's trying to convince you that their auto policy is the best or anything like that. Like we're sharing educational concepts and strategies and then directing you towards the whole industry that's available to you. And then this one says achieve your dreams, but it's a different color. So, same thing that I did. So who has some ideas for what have some of you done for an opening statement or opening story on the front cover page? Have you guys ever done anything like that? Michelle?
I don't even really address the front cover page. So I go, so Sherry, what has Jeanette told you about our company?
Yeah.
And then nothing that they're, whatever. And then I said, let me tell you a little bit about our company. So we're WFG Transamerica, and our parent company is Aegon. They were founded in the mid 1800s. They're a Dutch company. They have a market share in over 29 countries, and we're worth $500 billion, which means we have some rich parents, which is really awesome. But it kind of represents stability, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So now I just had her agree that we're a stable company.
Plus, I got Dutch in me, so.
Sold! Yeah. Blondie in the blue shirt.
And I said, so we have two divisions. We have Transamerica, which is our investment side, and then we have WFG side, which is where Jeanette's going for her licensing and everything like that. That's where we do our life insurance and some of our annuities. So we'll go more into that later. The other thing I want you to think about while we're going through this, I want you to look at this through two sets of eyes. So the first set of eyes is our company is growing so fast. We're expanding really quickly. And so think about anybody that you may know, either friends or family that are maybe unhappy with what they're doing right now, maybe recently got laid off, maybe want to make a career change, or maybe just earn maybe $1, $2, $5 extra $1,000 part-time basis. Can you do that for me?
Yes.
Oh, great. And then the second set of eyes is as I'm sharing with you these concepts, can you think about people that could actually learn from these concepts in this education that we're going to go over today, and maybe think of some other people that could use the service of us sitting down across the kitchen table. Could you do that for me too? Great. It would really help Jeanette out and help her grow her business really quick. And then I open the front page.
So that is fantastic, and I completely endorse everything Michelle just said. I did that recently, and then I came to this part like a few minutes later, and I'm like, oh, I already did this already. So I kind of skipped over it, but what do you do on this page? Like if you've opened it that way, and then you get to this part that says consider these two questions, do you just say, like I mentioned, just consider, whatever. So you just kind of breeze over it at that point, right?
Yeah, I would say it again.
Okay.
I know I just said this, but it's really important. So again, if you could look at these two things.
Okay. Who else can share how they start the presentation, like the opening statement or the opening story, or so you've already gotten there, you've been edified, you've built rapport, and you're about to start the presentation. Hope.
A great way to open it, because the thing about WFG Reach is what's on WFG Reach is what's available through the WFG store. So that presentation you cannot buy anymore. This one, I don't think you can buy anymore. Yeah.
It's gone, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so how do you
So
open
now
the
that
presentation?
I've just realized they changed concepts and strategies. For the next 15 minutes or so, or the next 10 minutes or so, this is just a quick way to go over some concepts and strategies that we want to share with you briefly.
So pause. So if you're used to saying concepts and strategies,
No, I'm not used to it. I
No.
just saw it, so
Okay.
it's just a way. You know what I'm saying? Because it used to be Achieve Your Dreams of different things, right? And you've got a brochure, or you've got your iPad,
right.
right? And you're kind of transitioning to rapport. Okay, here's my 8 pages, right? So because this is concepts and strategies, like we sort of talked about on the phone, the point of our brief meeting here is to introduce you to the company and to some basic concepts and strategies. And then you can open it up and you can cover, just like she said, the Aegon, Rich Parents, 2 sets of eyes. You know, 2 sets of eyes here, and then, Rich Parents on the products and services page.
So quick question, do you normally start here, like you personally, because this is part of workshopping, is asking each other what are you doing and what's working, what's not working, and what can we learn from each other. So when you do it, do you normally start with the front page like that, like whatever it says, or do you normally just start here?
No, generally, because when you're
So
going to
you
go
do
set
touch
something
on-
down, when
okay.
you're going to set something in front of them,
Okay.
I would set it down like this, and or here, because they, to start on this other page, it's,
So let's do this.
So I would work in the title. Before it used to be, here at WFG we help people achieve their dreams, and then you go into the 2 sets of eyes and.
So one of the things I don't even so if I could have that, I usually have my portfolio, I have everything sitting on top, I kind of cover this as I'm building rapport so they don't stare at it. I don't let them see this. I'm like, okay, let's go ahead and get started. And I don't even have this out before as I asking them, so what did Jeanette tell you about the company?
Hi there.
And
You can come in if
then
you like.
and then I'm like, okay, let's go ahead and get started. And then I open it and I keep it like this so they don't start reading this page. And then I go into that. So I don't even mess with that.
Okay. So let's practice this. Let's role play this. You can choose to start on this part, or you can choose to start on this part. That I don't care about, but I'm gonna call you unexpectedly and have you open the presentation. So starting with James, you want this page or this page, and then I'm gonna have you open your presentation.
Let's start with the first page.
The very first one. Okay. So pretend that you're talking to, in this case, let's have pretend that Jeanette. Now I'm throwing you with Glenn. Jeanette and Glenn, you're a couple.
Hey.
James, you're meeting with them, and actually Sherry's your trainee this time, if you don't mind, because can you scoot it 1 chair over, or would that be okay?
That's fine.
Okay. And now we're creating
And
a
that's
little bit of a kitchen
actually,
table scenario.
this is a good scenario because the man's sitting across from the man, the woman's sitting across from the woman. Perfect position.
Okay.
Okay, great. So, Jeanette and Mr. Eyestone, or the Eyestones.
Yeah.
Jeanette and Glenn, something like that.
That's a very, very good point. Okay, I'm sorry, James, go ahead and,
Great. So, what has Sherry told you about WFG?
Not much.
Nothing.
She started with a new company, but sounds good.
Well, great. Well, let me tell you a little bit how I got started with this company. I had my own business and everything. I didn't have any kind of like 401k or any kind of investment things going on for my future. And I started out as a client as well. So just like you guys, I sat down with a trainer and, I was a client with an agent.
I like that, I love your personal story, keep going.
Yeah, we'll start with what. And they taught me some concepts I really enjoyed, and they also taught me like not many people were in my situation that experienced the same things I've been experienced. Like most people like ourselves don't know these concepts. So today I would like to show you these concepts, and hopefully you guys are interested. And if you know anyone else that may be interested, you will share we'll come down and share our story with them.
Okay.
I love, love, love how he started with his personal story. Now go into the presentation itself.
All right, so once again, WSG stands for World Financial Group. And we are owned by a company called Aegon. Aegon is a Dutch company based out in the 1800s. They're in the Netherlands. And let's see here, they also we have a sister company called Transamerica. And that's like our broker side. So our marketing side is WFG. That is the marketing of the different types of product providers. And Transamerica is the side with the broker side that deals with investments and things like that nature. All right? And so just an overview of what we do. What do? We do savings and insurance. Savings for like your short term, mid-term, long term, as well as insurance is making sure that your savings is protected. Should I go on?
No, go ahead and stop. That's wonderful. So so he gave his personal story, and he went into sharing a little bit about like we're Transamerica, we're part of Aegon, et cetera, et cetera. That's a great strategy as well. Another strategy is, let's say that I've been talking with Jeanette and Glenn, and we've built rapport, and I'm diving into the presentation. So I might say, okay, so now that I've gotten a chance to get to know you a little bit more and know like what you do for a living and what's important to you, I'm going to go ahead and share with you the information that we came to share. Is that good? Okay, great. So first I'm going to give you an overview of the company, and the most important thing to remember is that our mission as a company is to help build and protect wealth for families. So have you guys ever thought about the idea of building wealth before?
Yes.
Yeah.
Many times.
And then when you hear the word protect wealth for families, what does that mean to you?
Protect their income.
Okay, yeah, you want to protect your income, you want to protect your savings, you want to protect anything that's related to building your wealth. Now, have you ever felt like you're not building wealth, but you're just getting by?
Oh, yeah.
That's where most families are at, right? So in the vast majority of couples that I sit down with, they're not really focused on building wealth. They're focused on, getting through paycheck to paycheck, how to pay their bills on time, how to save money for a vacation, how to send their kids to college. And so the idea of building wealth can sometimes seem daunting and impossible, right? But what we mean by building and protecting wealth is whatever wealth means to you. Is that like, do you value family? Do you value your health? Do you value your freedom? Are you eager to retire, or are you eager to have a certain lifestyle that you want? So we want to build and protect that. Sound good?
Yes.
Cool. So another strategy, so that's just like one of many ways you can open. So you see how you can, one of the reasons, and this is so funny, one of the reasons I wanted to start with like the introduction is that's the hardest part. The opening and the close is the hardest part. Once you get started, it's very easy to go page to page to page. It's just that initial interaction. So I loved telling the story. I loved how you touched on the concepts and strategies or achieve your dreams, and then I did one of like, oh, we help people achieve their dreams, or I started off being very interactive with them. So there's not a one size fits all philosophy. It's what are you confident with? What are you excited to share? Oh, and Michelle, I loved Michelle. Michelle is like she's very seasoned at this point, and she has the whole credibility down, because in our when you meet with prospects, credibility is a huge thing. So she's really good at talking about like Aegon and Transamerica and our company, blah 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 blah. So Jeanette, I'm gonna call on you next. Would you like to start with this page or the next page?
That page.
Okay.
So what I do is I have it on my Pathfolio, this or the iPad.
Okay.
I don't have it out yet. And I said, let's get started, and that's when the trainee is gonna start to find me. That's their cue.
Okay.
So let's get
That's what I
started.
used to do too.
Really? No way.
Yeah, I used to say, okay, so let's pause there.
Yes.
When we, so I've seen two different ways to start the edification. So for example, let's say I'm meeting with Hope, and Hope is taking me to see Auntie Carol this time. So, I might be training Hope, and I'll tell her something like this, because now I'll tell her something like this. So, remember we talked how important it is for you to introduce me and to help your Aunt Carol see the value that you place in me being here and sharing information, right? But the only thing that is awkward is I can't say, okay, introduce me now. Like that would be really awkward for me to do that in front of you, right? So I'm gonna give you. Have you ever heard of like people who are in a play and they hear their cue and that means that's when they come on stage? So your cue today for introducing me is gonna be. What did you just say a minute ago? Okay, let's go ahead and get started.
And then I open my
Okay, let's get started. And then, and sometimes you have to talk this through because I've done this before, and then the trainee will be like, "Oh, but you kept talking." So okay, even if I right, even if I, because then I'm like,
Gotta interrupt.
yeah, you've got it. So Hope, I know that you're very kind and very respectful, and you don't want to step on my words and whatnot, but it'd also be weird for me to be like, okay, let's get started. Right? Like, I can't give you a big clue. So I have to act as if I'm, okay, let's go ahead and get started now. So what is Hope told you about the company? And then then you interrupt me. Yeah, you just say, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but it just means so much to me to be able to introduce Lori formally to you. You know, I introduced Lori at the door, but now I want to say boom, 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 boom. So it's okay. You should teach your trainees that it's okay to interrupt you for the purpose of edification. Okay, that's helpful.
Introduce formally.
So I tend to use the words. Let me properly introduce Hope to you, or let me more. I know I introduced her at the door, but let me more formally introduce Hope to you. I'm so grateful that Hope is here today. Her and her husband are in business together. They're a strong Christian couple. He's involved in the ministry, and Hope is so eager to help families with our company and blah 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 blah. Right now I turned it into as if she was training me. But you guys get that? Okay.
Another way to interrupt is like, do you mind if we stop so I could take a moment to thank Lori? Because you always, so I think one of the things we haven't covered is the trainee thanks the trainer for spending time together, and that's where then you roll into the edification. And then the trainer thanks Aunt Sherry or Auntie Carol for doing the training appointment. So
I can do your reciprocal edification.
Yeah.
So I was telling Carol that there's we are trying to cover everything today, and then sometimes I'm trying not to cover everything, because there's certain things that we already know, like the how to sit at the kitchen table and the certain things, and but whenever you guys bring something up, these are great reminders. And what did you just say that? You said let me pause for a minute and introduce the presenter. What did you just
do? You mind if I take a moment and thank Lori for her?
Oh yeah, the thank yous. Yes. So some of this, and thank you for reminding us. I'm operating with a lot of assumptions here because, like I said, the workshop is kind of, in my opinion, about practicing the things that we don't normally practice. But if you guys have this input, like that's absolutely fantastic. But try to remember that like this is in addition to everything else that you've already learned, and to still always have the things that are obvious, like, you know. So to say it in a nutshell, to attempt to not miss anything. So from the very beginning, when you book an appointment, I talked about communication. Then you make sure that you're prepared with the exact address, and you know exactly where you're going. You add time cushion for traffic. You arrive early. I believe that, like, personally, I don't like to park right in front of the house because I like to take a moment to, like, kind of prep myself or print myself or double check my makeup or double check my hair or go to the back of the car and grab my stuff. So if you feel totally prepared and ready to walk in the door, then you can park right in front of their house. But for me, I like to take a moment, gather myself, and then walk towards the house. Always keep in mind that they might see you from their window or from their driveway. Sometimes they're in the garage. So think of it almost like a performance. You are on the minute you drive down their street, you're on. It's like, you know, so and being friendly is just as important as being professional. I'll say that again. Being friendly is just as important as being professional. Because you can be a professional a-hole,
wow.
Which none of you are. But you know what I mean. You know how that is. Like we got to be friendly and professional.
Remember, because it's superior and neutral.
Yeah. So
inferior.
Yes.
Don't be the superior.
So when you first get to the then you walk together. When you first get to the door, it's a casual introduction of the trainer, and then you go in. And then you build rapport, which might be anything from like commenting on the pictures, to complimenting their furniture, to asking how long have you lived here, or so how many children do you have, or oh, so Hope tells me that you're a nurse. All the rapport building. And then the trainee makes sure that you get to the kitchen table. It's the trainee's job to arrange the chairs and the table and to clear it off and to take care of the kids and all of that. And then you sit at the table, you finish building rapport, and then you do the edification, and it's good to have a clue as to the edification when you're going to do it, and then you go into the presentation, and then blah, 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 blah. So I hope I didn't miss anything. I'm sure, I wouldn't be shocked if I did, but all of those things, I'm still operating under the assumption that all of those things are still the same and true. Yeah?
Yes.
So go ahead, I'm not going
Okay.
to interrupt you. I just was, it was so funny to hear you say that. I'm like, oh my gosh, I used to do that.
Great. So I have it sipped up. So I said, okay, well, let's get started. And as I'm sipping, there's this moment of silence. That's their clue to get started. So
Okay.
I will do the edification, and then I'll start taking this out. And I'll do the same thing as you do. Actually, I'll put it in front of me, and I'll do this, and I'll say, so what has Glenn told you about our company?
Nothing.
Nothing? And then that's common. And I'll say, okay, great. Have you heard of World Financial Group before?
Yeah.
Oh, great. What do you know about World Financial Group?
Some kind of marketing level thing. I don't know.
Okay. What about yourself?
Financial.
Financial? Okay, great. So let me tell you a bit about our background. Have you heard of Transamerica?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we're Transamerica World Financial Group. It's an Aegon Transamerica company. And then I kind of just go into breaking the floor almost, say the same thing you do. I just talk about our parent company and...
Go ahead and show us, because we're all learning today from each other as well. We're practicing and we're also learning.
Okay. So we're Transamerica World Financial Group. It's an Aegon Transamerica company. Our parent company is Aegon. They're based out of the Netherlands, and they actually they're based in the Netherlands. So I'm getting nervous because
I understand. I totally get
Go
it.
for it.
You
Go
were
for it.
doing good. You were doing great.
Yeah.
So let's say you finished
I'm
talking
looking
about.
at you because I haven't did it yet.
Let's say that you finished the introduction.
Sorry.
Now, how do you go into the presentation?
Okay. So I'm going
So
to
you've just talked about the credibility of the company, very
Yes.
similar to what Michelle did. Okay, great.
Yes.
Continue.
So then I'll say, so let's go ahead and go over our company and what we do. This is an overview of our company. So our mission is to help build and protect wealth for families. We actually help families build wealth in different ways. So we help them with short-term goals, short-term savings, medium savings, and long-term savings. So, for example, short-term is an emergency fund. Medium-term would be possibly purchasing something in the near future. And then long-term is retirement. Do you think those are valuable things to know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And we also believe in creating relationships based on trust and building business through referrals. So did Glenn tell you how much we're charging for this?
What?
Good answer. Good answer.
Okay, well let me tell you. I'm sure you're curious, right? Actually, we don't charge our clients for anything, but we do ask for referrals because...
That's fantastic. That's great. That's great opening. See how much
Yeah.
we can learn from each other.
Yeah.
And seriously,
Yeah.
the opening of the presentation and the first page is the most important and the hardest. So
Yes.
keep going.
I forgot one thing. At the beginning, I say, did Glenn tell you how long we're going to be here for?
Okay, good.
And then from there, if he has,
I
then
told him
we'll
about
go
2 hours.
2 hours? Okay, great. And that's the thing Jim Maloney taught me too. And then I'll let them know. Okay, great. So we'll finish. It's going to be about 45 minutes, but we can leave about 10-15 minutes after for questions. Okay.
And if it's an ASAP, normally is it 30 or 45?
30.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Because you
it
just
kinda-
said 45 a minute ago, so I just wanted to double
It
check.
kind of depends. Well, it kind of depends on the training you said.
Okay, sure. Yes, absolutely. Okay, good. So then she started going to the mission, and then you notice that people are stories and questions are very important. So, Glenn, did we do you yet, Glenn?
No.
Okay, Glenn, you're next.
Oh, I
So
don't
you want to
do
start with the blue page or the wordy page?
First page.
that. I don't know.
How do you do it?
I've done it a number of different ways, and I'm listening to everyone's input here, so I'm kind of picking up on some nuances here. So,
So just give us your best Glenn game.
My
Whatever,
best
whatever
Glenn
you
game?
feel confident with
Okay.
and comfortable with. And then go ahead and present to James and Sherry.
Yeah, and through this whole thing, this is kind of weird. This is kind of like that part where Dan's talking,
Look through
there,
the fence.
Ed's doing that thing. It's like weird sitting with this big guy in front of you. Yeah. And you know when he does that presentation on that.
Flower arrangement.
Yeah.
Are you
But,
over there still?
Okay. First of all, James and Sherry, I want to thank you both for giving us this time today for Jeanette's training. Really appreciate that you doing that for her. It helps her get her one of her 10 training appointments done for the. Well, we're hoping to get them all done in the first week. She's come on board, and we're really happy to have her. She's going to be a great asset to our firm, and we really appreciate your time here. So what I want to do here, I don't want to take too much time. I don't know if she told you how much time we're going to take, but I want to spend maybe 25-30 minutes with you, and that's it. Give you a presentation of our firm, who we are and what we do, and then go ahead and answer any questions you have right off the bat, and then we'll call it quits. Okay?
Okay.
Sounds great. Real
Pause.
quick.
That was so smooth, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So first and foremost, what I loved about what Glenn just did is he used their names, right off the bat.
No,
He-
Trawl was trying to.
Yeah, you did a great job. So we can all remember that or borrow that. He used their names right off the bat. So James, Sherry, blah 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 blah. So it's very important that you remember their names when you first walk in. I know that's something I used to make a mistake of. Is I get I'm just naturally I have a week. I'm very forgetful. I could pretend I'm not, but I can be. But also when I get nervous, I might forget their name or. I might get distracted. Like when I go to shake their hand, I might remember their handshake better than their name. Like I'm just weird that way. So one thing is you want to write down their names before you go on the appointment, or write down the names when you're meeting with them, or for those of you who do a like actual questionnaire or any taking notes in the beginning of the appointment, etc., taking names down. So first of all, that was beautiful. I love how he mentioned the training in the very beginning. He's like, as we said, I don't remember exactly what words you used, but he's like, we're here to help Jeanette with her training, blah, 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 blah. Then he remembered to do the time thing. That was very good. And then you even said that it's only going to be 25-30 minutes. That's it. And then if you guys have some questions afterwards, that's fine. It was very, very smooth, Glenn. Very good.
Once in a while, I've done it in the past where I'll go, I don't want to be a professional visitor, so we don't want to spend too much time here. We don't want to spend, take an hour or two of your day. We said we're going to be here for a short amount of time. This is the time where I'm allotting, basically speaking. And then I'll follow through from there.
Okay. And then go ahead and do the first page that does have the word overview on it.
Okay. Now, real quick, James and Sherry, and I'll repeat their name again. My eyes have been terrible today. Anyway, let me show you exactly what we do, and give you a real quick overview of our firm here. Our goal is to help build and protect wealth for families. We believe in creating a good relationship with our clients, and building that trust and building our business through the referral business, because we do not charge our clients for what we do. What we do ask is this: if we do something special for you, if we give you good information or provide something beneficial for you and your family, that you give us a good amount of referrals, especially for Jeanette, especially if she's starting out with her business. The more referrals will help her with more training appointments, as well as help build her business, especially as she gets established with us. Now, I may not have mentioned it, but I want to ask you to consider these two questions. Do you know someone who could benefit from this message? Now, first of all, you're going to have to listen to the presentation. You'll get the message that way. Second, can this information help you, your family, and your friends financially? Okay, just kind of hold those two questions in mind as I go through the presentation. Okay, then I'll go on the next slide.
Cool. Carol, will you do the part, this part in blue where it talks about WFG believes in a respectful, no pressure process? When I've role played with trainees before, or I've observed, sometimes they get a little bit tongue tied or twisted because they say, the first appointment we do this, the second appointment we do that, And then the third appointment, they're like, oh wait, I just covered that. So we have to remember, so listen really carefully how Carol does it, and that make sure that as you're training your trainees, that they understand this part very clearly, because it's the first page of the presentation, and it's very easy to get mixed up if they don't know this part. So, Carol, begin.
Well, World Financial Group believes in a respectful, no-pressure process. On this first visit, a licensed associate, that's myself with my trainee, will discuss concepts, perhaps gather data and information, and we'll set a follow-up appointment if you wish to do business with us. On the second appointment, the licensed associate and trainee will have already performed a financial needs analysis, worked on some recommendations that meet your most pressing needs, and will come back. When we return, we'll present our recommendations to you to see how they fit with what you desire to begin your financial plan.
Okay. So she covered the first appointment, the second appointment, and she made sure that she kind of encompassed it all together. So that's wonderful. That's one way to do it. Fabulous. Another way is to do more like step 1, step 2, step 3. And who here uses like the nurse-doctor analogy during this part? Okay, we'll have James do it. James, go ahead. Or Steve. Or James.
Steve doesn't use the nurse doctor.
Oh.
Okay.
I've never heard that.
James, go
analogy.
ahead and do the nurse-doctor analogy for that group. Or do you want
Okay.
Glenn to do it?
Yes, go ahead.
Hey, James, you're supposed to be
Because
certified.
I think-
All right,
You should
all right, all right,
practice.
all right, all right.
Okay.
Okay, so for example, say like if you're going to a doctor, and what's the first thing you do at the doctor? You see a nurse, right, and gather information. They take down your blood vitals, what's hurting, and your measurements and stuff like that, okay? And then they'll give that to the doctor. The doctor will analyze it, they'll come back, and then they'll make the recommendation of what you'll need for those to fix that problem. So that's the doctor.
Good. Now, do the same thing, Glenn, but tie it in more with WFG.
Oh, okay.
So tell them about, sorry, that's what I meant, was to tie it in with,
Don't worry about it.
No,
Um,
you're good.
You're good.
here at World Financial Group, this is our process, and it's similar to, like, the
Right,
nurse and the
right, right.
doctor scenario. Go ahead.
Okay, James and Sherry, going through what we do here as our first, second, and third appointment, I kinda like to use the analogy, it's like the doctor-nurse situation. When you go to the doctor, first thing they do is they call you in, they take all your vitals. They're gonna take your blood pressure, your height and weight, temperature, and then of course ask you what is the purpose of your visit, why are you there? It's kinda like at that point there, we take the vitals, we find out, you know, how James and Sherry are looking, what James and Sherry would like to look like down the road. We put that process together, we take it back, we analyze it, give it to the doctor, kind of so to speak. It's a computer program as well as our own knowledge, and establish a treatment plan, and then go bring it back and give you the good results. Sound good?
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
I
Let
use a-
me,
No, go ahead. I was gonna say use a different analogy.
okay, we'll do my analogy, and then we'll do Michelle's analogy.
Okay.
So, let's say that I'm talking to, Carol and Michelle. So Carol and Michelle, I wanted to share with you a little bit about, how the World Financial Group process is different than most companies out there. It's very important to us that sorry, I was thinking too much. Pause. Okay, do it again. So, Carol, Michelle, I want to share with you the process of how World Financial Group does business. A lot of our clients appreciate the fact that we take our time and we're very careful about what their actual needs are and not doing business right away on the first appointment. So here's how we do things. So step 1, on the first visit, we as the associates discuss, okay, pause, that's what I was going to say. Okay, so this part, some people get this part confused. They're like, okay, are we saying that this is step 1 today, the ASAP? Or are we saying that the data collect is step 1? So that's what I want to clarify real quick. So right now, doing the ASAP, all we're doing is saying, like, if we were to do a financial plan for you, here's what it would look like. So that's what I got to do a better job of saying. So today we're going to share with you in general what our company is all about. And one of the first things that we're able to do is we provide a financial analysis for families who want to take a look at the different areas of their life, like their income, their spending, their education savings, their college savings, their life insurance protection, etc. So on the first appointment, if a family agrees to do a financial analysis with us, we will discuss concepts, gather data and information, and then make a follow-up appointment. Similarly, like if you were, no, I don't use that yet. Okay, then I go. See, this I told you I need to practice too. So the first step is to discuss concepts, gather data and information, make a follow-up appointment. Then we, as the associates, go behind the scenes and do our research. That's step 2. So we look at the products that are available in the marketplace. We look at the companies that we have on our shelf, and we go basically shopping for you. I'm your personal shopper in the world of finance, right? And then when I come back, we bring you an analysis and recommendations on how to take you from where you're at right now to being on track for achieving your goals and your dreams. Similarly, I like to use this analogy. You know how when you go into the office, into the doctor's office, and you always meet with the nurse, right? And they do your height, weight, blood pressure, temperature, and then you go and you sit and you wait for the doctor, and then the doctor comes in and writes the prescription for whatever you need. I kind of think of it as like I'm the nurse on the first appointment where I'm gathering data, and then when I come back, I'm the doctor and I'm giving you the prescription. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. So again, I need to improve it and make it smoother, but it's something along those lines. So Michelle, how do you do that?
So one of the things that I love about our company and why I've decided to plant my flag here is
Isaiah, you're next. Get ready.
Okay.
Is that we believe in I actually have to do this upside down. We believe in a respectful, no pressure process. So if we decide to move forward to the next step, what that means is a licensed associate like myself and Jeanette will come out, we'll discuss some concepts, gather data and information, and make a follow-up appointment. The good thing is the second step you're not even involved in. What we do is performed a financial needs analysis for the client. So let me explain to you a little bit what that means, Sherry. So let's say we're going to go you're going to go on a trip. Where would you want to take a trip to?
Tahiti.
Tahiti? Okay. So one of the things that you would need to get there would be not only your passport and stuff, but you need an itinerary or how you're going to get to your final destination, right? Correct. Well, that's what the financial needs analysis is. It's a roadmap on how to get you from point A to point B. And what we do is we look to see what any roadblocks you may have, where you may need some maintenance and stuff like that. So we come back and we create that roadmap for you to get you to your financial destination. Doesn't that sound awesome?
Sounds good.
Good. And then on the last step is that we come back and we return to present the analysis and make any recommendations that make sense to you, that are based on the goals and dreams that you have and the information you provided. Doesn't that sound like an awesome way to do business?
It does.
Okay, great.
Good. And wonderful. I love that. So what I'm remembering is that when I'm having more of a client conversation in like the BPM or a group presentation or one-on-one, the Tahiti example she just gave, we used to call that the Grand Canyon example, and it would be the same idea, the roadmap, right? Mm-hmm. That is excellent when it comes to talking to your clients about the actually both. Okay, so I'll tell you what I was originally thinking, but it's both. I was thinking from a recruiting standpoint, I would normally do the nurse and doctor thing, and from the client standpoint, I'd probably do the Grand Canyon thing, but really both work for both. So point being is, you want to tell stories so that Hope, who's, if I'm meeting with her for the first time, and I think she might be interested in doing the business, I want to explain it in a way where Hope can see herself doing it. Does that make sense? So from a recruiting mindset, I'm thinking, so Hope, let me share with you how we do things. Now, you can think of this both, like I mentioned, both as from a client perspective, how helpful this would be, but also from an associate perspective, and if you were to work with us, here's the process that we go through. So here's what's great about the process, is that first of all, you don't have to be a doctor on the first appointment, you can be a nurse. You can use this in your fast starts, you can use it in your interviews, so you can actually, it can be a teaching moment of like, here's why you can learn everything you need to know, is that on the first appointment, it's really more like fill in the blank. What are your goals? What are your dreams? How much money do you make? Da, da, da. So you can do that, right? You can just fill out a fill in the blank worksheet, right? And then during the analysis part of it, we can help you do the research. We have product providers that you can call. We have professionals here in the office that you can call. We have website information that you can look up. So your clients don't have to see sort of the nitty-gritty work that you do behind the scenes to become an expert. That way, by the time you see them again, that's when you're an expert on the products and services. So we're going to help you and rally around you, give you all the support you need, so that by the time, because think about it this way, most recruits who come into your business, they get excited about the money, they get excited about helping people, and they're like, oh wait, how am I going to learn all this stuff? How do I know what to recommend? Oh my gosh, I don't know enough, I quit, right? So, so if you remind them that like, all you have to do is learn how to get good at step 1, and then we'll teach you how to get good at step 2, and then we'll help you get good at step 3. And if you're not ready for step 3 by yourself, then that's when you have a partnership and a trainer who's going to help you with those recommendations. But even me, as long as I've been in this business, on the first appointment, I don't typically go over products and services. I'm just trying to find out my client's goals and dreams. Then I do my research, and I don't usually come up with the recommendation off the top of my head. I'm talking to other more qualified associates, and let me say it differently. I'm contacting people who also have experience in the field. I'm contacting product providers. I'm, doing illustrations. And then when I come back, I'm the doctor. So you don't have to be the expert on the first appointment. You have time to become that expert on every single appointment. Does that make any sense? So anyway, do it in your own way, but I also wanted to make sure today that we talk about recruiting, not just client stuff.
Thank you guys. I have to go.
Sure.
I'll get you somewhere at 3.
Okay.
But next time I want to try.
Okay. Should I have called on you already, or were you happy to observe
Because
today?
I haven't really did one yet.
Okay.
But I want to try next time.
Love that.
Thanks for what you were saying.
Yeah, okay.
Brainstorm.
I might be a little slow, but you watch.
Which answers
That's
some
okay.
of the things.
Well, you could do one Monday or Tuesday or whenever you're in the office next.
Okay.
And just sit down and grab somebody
Yeah.
and
Okay,
do a
Monday.
do
Yeah.
a training.
Grab Glenn, he's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Got it.
So are you?
I will be here on Monday.
Hope,
Bye, guys.
nice to see you, Sherry. Thanks for
Bye,
joining
Sherry.
us. Hope was saying she just had a brainstorm idea, so go ahead.
Yeah.
So the idea of so concepts and strategies, so let's get started. The idea behind, or the joke of, how long were we going to spend together? How long did you say we were going to be here? Really, our time together today, and the presentation is very, very brief. It really is only 10 to 15 minutes. This process is to introduce you, someone who Jeanette trusts and values their opinion, to our company, to myself as her field trainer. And the neat thing is that there is the process by which we do business. Now, our visit today really is just an introduction. It's very, very difficult, like if you were to go into a club scene. Ideas like, because I want millennials on my team, right? Into a club scene. Well, if or into a bar or a social situation, you don't just run up and ask a gal for her phone number, right? You're gonna offer to buy her an adult beverage or a non-alcoholic beverage. You're gonna sit and chit chat for a few minutes, and then maybe if the both of you are having rapport and feeling comfortable, then you're gonna ask for her number, and then she just might give it to you. Well, this is our drink buying process. This is our process, right? I'm not really gonna ask you for your digits until the end of the presentation, but the process. This is the actual.
That's great because you get them laughing too.
This is the nuts and bolts and the actual meat of the process. Because you're probably sitting here thinking, so what? Is Jeanette just going to come and sit in my kitchen and go talk to people for 15 minutes and flip through a brochure and then leave, and she's going to become a financial services professional? No. It's a no pressure. WFG believes in a respectful, no pressure process. So the idea is that the first step, the first official appointment, is where a licensed associate. Jeanette's going to be getting her license. When are you taking your test? Monday. See, so the licensed associate comes out. And because we've already pre-handled discussing some concepts, we get to dive more into your goals and your dreams, where you want to go financially, gather some data and information, and then we set the follow-up appointment. The second part of Jeanette's training comes in your process, where there's a lot of behind-the-scene things. If you were going to take a trip, where would you want to go? I love your thing.
Oh, thank you.
Tahiti, right? So I'm your travel, Jeanette's your travel agent. So you tell Jeanette, I want to go to Tahiti. So Jeanette goes, great. How long do you want to be there? She gets some basic information, a couple things you want to do. So while she's doing all the research to try and figure out which flight you should take, which hotel you should stay in, you're not really involved. She's doing all the kind of hard work. Well, that's the second step where we take all of your data. We do that sort of work. We come up with an itinerary to give you a roadmap to your goals and your dreams. So that follow-up appointment is the third step of the process where we lay out how you can get from here to Tahiti, or how you can get from, here to retirement. And all throughout this process, Jeanette is learning, becoming familiar with products and services. She's learning how to run illustrations. She's learning the vocabulary, the technical vocabulary with the business. And then, if the recommendations and things make sense, then she also gets to learn those other steps and processes by what it means to move forward with applications or, investments, and taking those kind of steps to make sure that you guys are taking the actions you need to get where you need to go. So that was just an off-the-cuff brainstorm for, like you were saying, the idea of the process, and to explain, because there's always been I've always kind of felt a disconnect. That's more specific because when you're mentioning the training and like we're and then when you're closing in the end, like, let's do this, let's get her some more training. They're kind of on board with the idea of, if you really want to help Jeanette with her training, you'll let her train in these kinds of areas. And again too, and I hate shortening it, but like, listen, this should really 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. And then by that time, if you're quick and they're like, well, we could do that. Can we do that today? Because I totally want to help her with her training. And then you go, oh, well, yeah, let me pop out to Jeanette's car and whip out my data collector, or whatever it is.
Well, and I think you have to be aware of who your trainee is if you're going to make that decision to add on a data collect, because not all trainees, especially if it's their first few appointments, can handle watching an ASAP and then all the information you get from the data collect. So I think you have to be really aware of who your trainee is to even give that as an option.
That's actually kind of a great thing, because then it also doesn't sound like you got a box out in your car. Now listen, this was designed to get her familiar with this first, intro, get to know you. Let's set a time for 2 days from now. We can come back and then we'll have the opportunity, I'll have the opportunity, we'll have the opportunity to sit down and get Jeanette really prepared with the nuts and bolts and all the things that we're going to need to gather those data and focus on you and your goals. So that's actually a really good thing too. Where you kind of like, it's like here, but no, not yet.
Right.
So it makes them actually, I think that might actually make them not only keep their FNA appointment, but keep the recommendations too. Because we've had a couple of things where they, teammates have been out in the field and they've gathered data, like after an ASAP, and they never went to, they did all the work, but they never went to present because the people just kept canceling.
That's curious, because if you've done that and you've gotten a commitment, obviously, before you ever collect the data, I would anyway.
Your
In other
5
words,
closing ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, Isaiah and I were talking about this earlier because he had a data collect appointment. And after I've done that presentation, that's when I get a commitment. I say, hey, listen, if I could put together a plan for you that you'd be totally excited about and you'd be the sole judge of that, is there any reason why we can't do business?
If they've shown interest at
Yeah.
that first ASAP appointment.
Yes.
But you're right.
Yes. And then if they say yes, okay, then you can either collect data or you can say, hey, listen, I'd like to schedule a follow-up appointment where we've got a little more time to collect the data. And do that within a couple of days. If it goes too far, in other words, I can't schedule that data collect for a week and a half, the chances are pretty good that they're going to cancel on you, because they've lost their interest, they've lost their excitement and everything. So you'd want to do it fairly quickly, but if you get that kind of a commitment, and a commitment to do business, a commitment to come back in time, and a dollar commitment and everything, then they're probably not going to cancel on you.
Well, yeah, like, and if using the recruiting kind of a thing and selling the idea of the training and the 3-step process, instead of closing them on so many, because that would be a lot. Using the 5 closing commitments on them, like at an ASAP where they've agreed to come back to the data collect, and then just make sure that you drill down and get like at your data collect, like you said, because I honestly think the breakdown there, Steve, really was the 5 closing commitments were not.
Yeah.
I wasn't present at the appointments, so I can't.
That's a big deal.
I cannot unequivocally say,
Yeah.
but that has got to be where the breakdown happened during the data collect with the 5 closing commitments.
There's some other place that could have happened also, and I'm thinking of the time, between the time you set the appointment for the go back. Did somebody call the client during those 72 hours and say,
It's just what it really is, Carol. I think it's just a big freaking hot mess where it's like, it's just there's nothing.
Loosey-goosey.
There's nothing.
okay, well then there's something that needs to happen.
Oh no, it's already been happening. I mean,
No,
I've been close
to correct it, you call the client before the next appointment, and either the trainer or the trainee can say, you know, we're so excited about what we found. You know,
Well, no,
tempt them
I mean,
again,
it-
the cat and the
Yes.
fish.
Yeah, no. When I meant
Yeah.
loosey-goosey, I meant talking about, you know, and I've been tightening that up lately.
Yeah.
You know, a lot. So.
So my experience has been that when I close, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so awesome, and here's everything I did right. And when I don't, I'm like, oh my god, maybe it was this, maybe it was that, maybe it was this, maybe I did this wrong, maybe I did that wrong. And then similarly with trainees, like if you close business, you're like the best trainer ever. And if you don't close business, they're like, oh, it's
You're
probably because you didn't do
failure.
this, it's probably because you didn't do that, it's probably. So we also have to be careful to remember that the numbers are the numbers are the numbers, and all we can do is
Yeah.
the best we can do. And we definitely can and will and should improve weaknesses. If there's a hole in our boat, we fix the hole. If there's a
Right.
weakness in our chain, we tighten it. At the same time, it's amazing how when people say no, we're like, right now we just came, well maybe it was, and then right, even while you were talking, you were saying, you were saying something, maybe it was a closing commitments, and then somebody else said maybe something, and I was like, maybe it was the edification, maybe it was the credibility of the person, maybe it was that they're, you know what I mean, like who knows.
No, my basic
but when you do know that you need to improve it, then yeah, it's
Yeah,
important to
and the
improve
tighten up basically, because there's recruits coming down the pike, and I'm the ASAP is really, really important. I've been resold and reconvinced on the idea of this, of when you have a new associate, they really, really do need to get it, and Francis does things a little bit different. It's not necessarily an ASAP, but one of the first things he does in the first 24 hours of somebody AMAing is he gets them in front of their hot people. Now, tightening this up and making it 20 minutes, like it shouldn't, like this is an intro kind of a thing, and I loved your idea because this is the 3 steps. That's a window into closing them on a commitment to help the trainee train even further. You know what I'm saying? Because that's where a lot of the training really happens. Because to sit for, that's been one of the things that I always kind of felt about the ACE. So if you trim it down and cut the fat, and like you're saying, everything that you're saying, you're using credibility, and you're using questions and names to keep them engaged and get them in the process, and then just have standards. Like the process goes like this. You know, the outcome of the ASAP is to set a data collect. The data collect is within, 2 days. When you go back for the data collect, the standard is, like you're saying, Steve, 5 closing commitments, and firm, right? Like Carol and Lori and everyone's saying, the standard is, the second we get done, homework is debrief. Debrief plan is started as soon as possible, like within less than a day if you can find time, right? And where you have the trainee like doing a lot of the work where you're sitting over their shoulder and helping them with that stuff. Where the third step of the process, the presentation, is 2 days after that. So the idea, really, if an ASAP, if you can pull it off and keep it tight, ASAP within 7 days, you're going back and running an application with the family for whatever, for whatever recommendations.
And it can go ASAP BPM client,
Right.
or it can go ASAP client BPM,
Any of those
or it can be
things.
just ASAP BPM or ASAP client. But yeah, definitely the intention is for them to get, it's almost like a commercial, and you're just giving them enough information to get them excited about having you come back again. And that reminds me of, for both clients and recruits, our goal, like every single time we meet with somebody here in the office or in their home, the goal is, think of it this way, let's create a new outcome. The goal is, I want these people to want to see me again. You know what I mean? So if I do this presentation, are they going to want to see me again because they're going to be interested in the business, or because they want to give me referrals, or because they want to do a data collect? If I just recruited Hope onto my team and I go to the fast start, my outcome today by the time we're done is that she's going to want to see me again for the next step, whatever the next step is. Like whatever I accomplish today, she's going to be excited about seeing me the next time. You know what I mean? So it's like it's a string of both clients, and then because even with the clients, they do the app, and then you go back for the close, and then you want to get more referrals, and then you go back for an annual review, and it's like it's a continuous relationship with your recruits and your clients.
Yeah, one thing too, I think that's vitally important is the very first part of this, and that's building rapport. Because what do they, is the main thing that they buy?
You.
Yes, yes.
If they buy you, and you do, you know, a good job of the presentation and everything, you're gonna get a positive, you know. If you come in and maybe you only spend 2 or 3 minutes building a rapport, which you don't build a rapport in 2 or 3 minutes, then the chances are pretty good that they're not going to feel totally confident and trustful about you, you know, so.
Yeah, keep in mind, when I say 10 minutes, I'm just talking about the
just the
paper
presentation,
brochure.
it's a very short
Yeah.
presentation, I can see that.
Steve, you bring up a very good point.
Yeah.
One of the things we did at the very beginning is I went around and I asked them, tell me somebody that you trained with and what did you learn from them, or what did you gain from the experience, whatever. And like at least half the people talked about building rapport, building relationships. They asked good questions. They found commonalities and all that.
Yeah.
So you like once again, that's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Now I did say that we were going to have Isaiah do this part. So Isaiah,
Which
would
part?
you the blue part right here? You can read it from where you are, or you can borrow someone's. Thing.
Okay.
He's got his own.
Okay.
Um,
So pretend that you're at the point of the presentation where you're like, well, let me share with you sort of how we do business here at WFG.
Okay. Well, let me explain to you exactly how we help people and our whole process. With World Financial Group, we have a 3-step process, and the way that works is on the first appointment, pretty much similar to the way we're doing it right now, is on the first visit with the associate or James, for example, he'll come and discuss concepts and gather data and his information. He'll share information with you and explain everything, and we make it a follow-up appointment. The second one will be, we'll come back and perform a financial needs analysis. And what a financial needs analysis is, it's a very good concept. But let me ask you a question. Have you ever taken a trip before? Have you ever went traveling? So let's say we're going from point A to point B. Let's say we're going to San Francisco. How exactly would you get there?
In a car.
In a car? I'm just
talking off the top.
Yeah. So what if you've never been there before? How exactly would you know how to get there?
Plug it in my GPS.
GPS, right? Okay, that's perfect answer. Well, it's pretty much similar to what a financial needs analysis is. It's like a GPS, but for your finances. So we find out where your goal is and where you want to go, and we look at where you're at right now. So we create a whole plan for you on how to get from point E, where you're at now, to point B, to where your goal is. It's a very great concept, and I love what it does for people, and it's very powerful. But the great thing about it too is most other companies like Morgan Stanley, Charles Schwab, they perform the same thing, but they charge a lot of costly consultation fees. And what we do is so powerful is because we do it for no fee at all. So it's very beneficial. And also, lastly, the third part would be we'll come return and present an analysis and recommendation. With that being said, though, do you think that's a good way of doing business with people?
Nice closing question. Good, Isaiah.
Thank you.
How many presentations have you done so far, or have you just observed?
Probably like.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Right.
Good. That was good stuff.
Thank you.
Excellent. Alrighty, so we could do this page by page by page. It is now 2:15. What I'd like to do is just 2 more things, and then we'll wrap it up. One is I just want to give some examples, and maybe ask some of you for examples of how to tie in a specific a specific prospect to the presentation, because I mentioned that I was going to do that. So let's pretend, let me use Hope and John as an example. Let me tell you a little bit about their background. So Hope and John are married. John has experience in sales, but he no longer works in sales. And then he also has experience and a heart for ministry. And then Hope also, she has a desire a burning passion for God. And but her full-time job is a massage therapist. So if I had just talked to them and asked them, what do you like most and least about your, what what did you like most? Like I could ask John, what did you like most and least about sales? What do you like most and least about the ministry? Hope, what do you like most and least about, you know, massage work? And she might say, you know, like, I love the clients, I love helping people, but I'm so tired and I don't feel like I'm getting it. Like, I feel like I'm learning that my time is worth more, and, you know, blah, 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 blah. So whatever her thing may be, then and then I might ask, you know, during the rapport building process, do you guys, do you already have a game plan for like your goals and dreams in life? Have you guys do you have a bucket list, or do you have things that you wanted to achieve in life, or places you want to go, or things you want to do, or what are some of the things?
Are you being literal or?
Yeah, now I'm asking you literally. I'll go ahead and ask you literally. Or I can I just answer for you to make it easier, because I have it. Okay. So let's say that they tell me. So let's say that they tell me that they want to retire and go live in Arizona and open a school for missionaries where they teach them how to go out and spread the gospel. Like whatever their goal is, you want to be able to tie it in. And sometimes you get it during the rapport building, sometimes you don't. And obviously that might not be the case. But my point is that if they share something that's important to you, if they share with you something that's important to them, you want to utilize that throughout the presentation. Does that make sense? So the other day, I happened to meet with someone who's a nurse, so I for sure use the nurse example. Like, oh yeah, so for example, like, you know, the nurse and the doctor, blah, 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 blah. So okay, let me go to the next page and then it'll come to me. So let's say that we're meeting with James. We'll do James and Hope, and it'll be a pretend relationship scenario, but at least we have both of you here.
No, it has to be real.
Boom, done, new marriage. No way, John, we wouldn't let that happen. So anyway, by the way, it's Jeanette and Fitzroy are recording this just for your own personal purposes, from what I understand. I was supposed to like stop and go when people were playing, because some people were like, I don't want to be recorded. But first of all, Cheryl left, and she was one of the people who didn't want to be recorded. Secondly, I think it's been very just organic, and we've just been going. Okay, so this is probably the best page to touch on their personal stories, right? So so I'd say James and Hope, you know, most families these days, they seem to be living with too much debt and not enough insurance protection. They seem to have little to no savings. They don't have a clear understanding of how much savings is enough, and they don't make enough money and are not sure how to fix the problem. So let me ask you a question. With John, with you no longer being in your sales position, and Hope, you only having so many hours in the day to do massages, do you guys feel like you're ahead of the game financially, behind the game financially, or you're looking to make more income? How are you guys
financial game that we're supposed to be playing? I had no idea.
You do a lot of finances, so you take me out of that question.
Yeah, there's a financial game afoot. I didn't even realize I was supposed to be playing a game. So, you know, if I'm not even aware that there's a game going on, well, looks like I'm probably behind the eight ball.
Okay. Well, right now, would you, if you had, and then you might just go straight to it. If I showed you a way to earn additional income, would you consider it?
My gut instinct is I don't have time, but, you know, I had shared with you, and then you could throw in the thing where you had mentioned, you know, time is valuable, and you had mentioned that one of the things you're learning from massage is that, you know, that your time is worth more. So again.
So one of the things I love about, and you guys don't have to do this, one of the things I just still to this day love about doing the TRC, even at the beginning of an ASAP appointment, I'd rather spend 15 minutes on a TRC and then fly through this in 5-10 minutes. Because to me it's so important to find out like what are their goals and their dreams and their likes and dislikes. But let's say that, but I'm trying to do a general how to use a page like this to incorporate their personal story or to have a personal conversation. So let's pretend that you did say, I just don't think I have enough time for. Okay, so this is what I would really do. Okay, let's say this time she says, you know, I really don't think that I have enough time for this. You know, I would love to make extra income, but I'm just exhausted already. I wouldn't try to close her at that point. I would just be like, I totally understand. Well, let me ask you this: with the money that you're making, then I would just switch gears. With the money that you're already making, do you feel like you're on track for your financial goals, or like maybe you can use some guidance in that area? Maybe some tax advantages, or maybe some revisit some ways that you could save money or secure your money?
I'm always open for guidance, yeah, because like we've shared, it wasn't even, we're not even in the financial game, so.
Okay, excellent. So thank you for that. And then I'll get back to that, you guys, because just remember what she said. So what's the result of living like this? Some families have little to no peace of mind. Some families have stress and frustrations. Sometimes it has a negative impact on families. And since I just finished talking to Hope, now I would probably switch to James. So do you know any families that have either now or in the past struggled with, stress and frustration because of money issues or things like that?
Sure.
Okay. What if you were in a position to help other families to improve those areas? Is that something that you would enjoy doing?
No, pretty much to myself.
Okay. Is that something you want to? Is there any area you want to improve for you and Hope so that you have less stress financially?
I was always room for improvement. So.
Okay. All right. Cool. So now I've just found out, so far they're more interested in the services, not so much the opportunity, but at least I'm asking these, just dropping questions and. So how do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? So then I usually, on this page, True Financial Independence, I usually refer to the fact that we live in Southern California. It's all about the Kardashians and keeping up with the Joneses and, the bling and the fancy stuff. But really, true financial independence is at the end of the day, here's how we become more financially secure. Tell me if you agree with some of these ideas. Save more and spend less. Live within your means. Protect your loved ones should the worst case scenario occur. Systematically reduce and eliminate debt, have sufficient funds to cover expenses for 6 months to a year, build long-term savings and protect your family for life, and have peace of mind. Are these the types of things that you agree with might bring true financial independence to you?
I'd really like an emergency fund, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, definitely.
All right, excellent. So then I would just go on with the presentation, blah, 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 basic financial concepts, power of time, financial needs analysis, and then maybe on this page, I would just try again one last time on the recruiting side. So I'd say, did you guys really enjoy learning those concepts? Have you heard of all of them before, any of them? The financial concepts I just went over? So one thing that I thought was amazing, and then you want to use yourself or your clients as stories. One thing I always thought was interesting, why I was attracted to this company, was that I always thought of myself as a very educated woman. I got good grades in school. I was well behaved. I went on to UCLA. I graduated with honors. I'm thinking I'm this smart, successful woman. And I started learning about the things that World Financial Group was teaching. And all of a sudden, I felt so inadequate in this area. I felt like I didn't know about the Rule 72. I didn't know about tax advantages. I didn't know about proper protection. And so it was an area that I was very eager to grow in. And at the same time, what I realized when I did my analysis, I realized that with my current income, it was going to be really hard for me to excel in all of these areas. I might be able to master one or two, but for me to really achieve my goals, I knew that I was going to have to bring in more money in order to have the retirement that I wanted, in order to get out of debt faster, in order to have the proper protection. So in my case, I started off as a full-time teacher, started working part-time, made some extra income, and in my personal situation, I ended up loving the business more than teaching, and I ended up earning more in business than teaching. So in my case, that was helpful. So I know that you mentioned that you're exhausted, you don't have a lot of time, and John, you feel like you're comfortable, but just out of curiosity, is it at all possible that you could see yourself, if I could teach you how to help families in this way and you can make part-time income, what if I could show you a way to make the same amount of money working half the amount of hours? Or maybe something that's not as physically demanding. Is that something you'd be open to?
Well, like I said, it's I was an accountant for 18 years, and I'm smart enough to do this.
See how it switched? A few minutes ago, she's like, I'm too tired, and now she's like, well, maybe. That's all it is. That's at the end of the ASAP, they don't have to make a decision. They don't have to say yes or no. Really, all we're trying to do is, what do James and Hope want, and how can I show them how to get it? If they're content with their careers and their income, can I help them with their client services? If they're comfortable in their financial matters, but they want to make more money, and how could I help them in that regard, so on and so forth. So my only point in giving those examples is we could give a great World Financial Group presentation and talk about how great World Financial Group is all day long. I think that's the easy part. We all of us are here because we love it, we believe in it. The tricky little nuance is all of us, including myself, can and should get better at how do I reach into really finding out, are they potential recruits, are they potential clients, and then converting that into reality. Make sense? And then to wrap it up, we would normally close the ASAP appointment on this page. Normally, I believe we do the business review card at this point. Is that right?
Yes. No, the Bill Gates story.
Oh, the Bill Gates story. That's
Which is
right.
another way
Yes. So
to find out their intention.
yes. So who wants to do the Bill Gates story? Michelle.
So James and Hope, let's say we've gone back to the early 1980s when we're walking down the street and we see a garage door open, and a gentleman comes out and introduces himself as Bill Gates, and he says, "Hey, I've got this amazing opportunity for the two of you, and I would like to invite you to this opportunity just to see what it's all about." If you know now, if you knew then what you know now about Microsoft, would you be interested in just sitting down and seeing what the opportunity was all about?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, great. Because that's what is exactly going on with our company right now, where it's the financial services industry is exactly where technology was in the early 1980s. So you said you were willing you wanted to find out more about it. So the way to find out about that is to actually come into our office. So when would you be available? Either Wednesday night at 7 p.m. or Saturday at 9 a.m.?
Saturday morning.
Okay, great. I'm excited for you. I'll make sure I save 2 seats for you and Hope.
Okay.
Excellent.
Some of the clothes he's gonna bring her.
Mm-hmm.
Good, good, good. Who else can show us a wonderful job? Who else can show us how they? Who else can show us how they might end the presentation, or wrap up the presentation with the business review card, or scheduling the next appointment? Who can give another example? Jeanette.
I can. Okay. So the last concept I want to share with you. I'm gonna actually. I'm gonna give you this card for you to fill out, and this is to help with Glenn's training. Okay. So we want to keep track of his training, but it's also gonna ask you a few questions. So first, let me tell you a story. Let's say we're back in the 80s, and we're walking. Right. Awesome time, right? We're walking down the street, and a garage opens up, and we see this man come out of the garage, and he says, "Hi, my name's Bill Gates, and I'm starting this company, and I'm doing a presentation for my company, and I have an extra seat, or 2 seats for you and Hope." Right, so you're walking down that alley, and you hear that, and knowing how many billionaires came out of that, and how big Microsoft has become, would you take that seat? Right? Yeah. Silly question to ask. Of course, all of us would take that seat. Hindsight is 2020. But the reason I tell you that silly story is because back then technology was getting started, and it was a big field, right? And so many great things came out of that field. Well, right now we're in the same position. So financial services, we have baby boomers that are retiring. They're transferring their wealth. We have millennials that are trying to get everything started as well. So I tell you that story because when I give you this card, the first question it's going to ask is if you want to take a look at our company and the opportunity. And we're actually looking for people to interview with us. So if that's you, I want you to check the first box. The second box talks about getting a financial plan done for you. So you mentioned that was important for you and Hope earlier today, right? So I want you to check the second box, and we'll get that done for you, and we'll get that scheduled. And the third thing is if you want both options, go ahead and click that. So I'm going to hand this over to you. Please fill it out.
Excellent. Let's say that you are out in the field and you, for whatever reason, you haven't learned the Bill Gates story, you haven't mastered it yet, but you just gave a presentation, or you're running super tight on time and you know the story perfectly, but you're like, I promise to be done by 229, blah 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 blah. Another strategy, or in addition to the Bill Gates story, another strategy is when you finish it, after finishing the last page of the presentation, you want to utilize any personal conversation that you've had with them. So whatever I say I'm about to make up, but let's pretend that everything I say is real. It might look something like this. James and Hope, I'm really glad we had a chance to talk today. It's been really nice getting to know you guys. And Carol, this has been helpful for you in your training?
Very.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
And are you happy to share with your family what you're doing now with our company? So we mentioned at the beginning of the presentation to look at this with two pair of eyes. One is more like the client services we provide. The other is the career opportunities and our growth and expansion. This is a business review card sheet. We collect this to help track her training appointments as well as stay in contact you for whatever needs you ask us about. Would you please fill out this card? And I remember in the beginning, Hope, you were saying that you're not interested in earning additional income, but towards the end you mentioned that you are getting kind of tired of using your hands. You only have so many hours in the day as far as making money. You have sort of danced with the idea of, danced in your head with the idea of having your own business or being your own boss, setting your own hours, those types of things. So I would encourage you to, we're going to put, check off one, which is, no, the first one is financial solutions. Anyway, whichever one is the, sorry, I don't have it in front of me. Yeah. So go ahead and, so because you're interested in that, I'd really like for you and John to come down to the corporate overview, blah, blah, blah. Let's schedule that right now. So then you find a corporate overview. But then, John, you made a really good point, and you were saying that you don't feel, James and John, Paul, Peter, Mark, and Timothy, and now I'm going to the Bible names, James. James, you were saying that that you don't necessarily see that you're kind of sort of interested, but it would more so be Hope's thing, you're saying. But you made a really good point when you said that you're not 100% clear like what protection you have and what your retirement looks like. You know you have some life insurance, you know you have some savings, but you haven't really taken the time to review everything with a fine-tooth comb with a financial professional. So in addition to inviting you and Hope down to the office to look at the career opportunity, I also want to make sure to schedule a follow-up appointment so we can take care of your financial needs analysis. Does that sound good? Yeah. So for me, like when I'm closing it, I'm using exactly what they said and then scheduling something specific. So in my opinion, it all, like everything that we do in the field, use your best judgment. Follow the system, follow what you've learned, but also use your best judgment. So I think it's very important that you can say, fill this out and mark out what you want. But I also think that sometimes it can be very helpful to say, this is what you said you want, so let's schedule it and let's just mark it on the card so we can remember when we're meeting. You know what I mean? Like be a little bit assumptive, as they say. Cool deal, cool beans? It's just another strategy. Does anybody else want to share how they might, Steve, I would love to hear how you might close an ASAP appointment and just any ideas that we should keep in mind as we're closing it out with a family that we meet with.
Well, I kind of gave you how I close it, with the commitments at the end. Now, the Bill Gates thing is somewhat new to me because I had never heard it before I ever came here. But I think that's a great way to kind of reinforce the idea that this is an opportunity. It's not just financial products and services. And so if you were to kind of close with that idea that, hey, I have a card that I'd like you to fill out just to give us an idea of, what you liked about the information you received today and maybe anything going forward. But I wanted to share one kind of a story with you. You've all heard of Bill Gates, right? Mm-hmm. Yes. Can you imagine if you had been walking, by his house, maybe down the alley, and he came out and said, hey, listen, Lori and Carol, I'm starting this new company, and I'm looking for people who might be interested in exploring owning a part of my company for only $100. Would you like to come in and see what my company's all about and if it might be of interest to you? Would you have gone and sat down, knowing what you know today about Microsoft, would you go in and sit down and maybe get out $100 and invest in that company? Okay, well, we're looking for people who might be interested in doing that with us, because really, what we have available is not just it's not a job or something like that. It's the ability to own and build your own franchise, your own business. So think about it in that way.
Nice. Don't you all love how Steve, when he talks, it's so confident but non-threatening. Does that make sense? It's like very conversational. Like he. It's like he's thinking of it for the first time. You know what I mean? You would have been a brilliant actor. But I mean, but you've kind of heard the story before, and you're kind of role playing it right now. But you have a very strong way of communicating in a way that's confident and, like I said, it's inviting rather than threatening. So that's very, very good. And you did a good job of doing the story that you said you weren't familiar with.
Yeah, you know, and I got that franchise thing from watching a YouTube with Ed Milet from a 2004 meeting that he had, a big meeting, and you may have even been there, or you probably were, but anyway, where he talked about this as a franchise, not just like a job opportunity.
Right. In fact, he talks about not only is it a franchise, you're the person selling the franchise.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's amazing.
And so if you haven't seen that, I suggest everybody go look at it, because it was incredibly powerful. And it's on YouTube, and it's Ed Milet, and it's sponsored by somebody named Johnny Sepulveda, who I have no idea who that is.
Okay.
But
I think he was in the business or is in the
Was he?
business.
Too. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it
okay.
was.
Is there
I
was in
don't
the
remember
business.
the name, but anyway, it's certainly worth looking at.
Okay.
One of the things I loved about Steve is that when he was talking, it was matter of fact, and he was so neutral about what your result was.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't care if you said yes or no. Like, hey, you have this opportunity, take it or leave it. I don't care, whatever. And that was like, it almost makes you want it more, because he was so like
Laid back.
disconnected from the result.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very cool. Is there anyone here who's not certified? Meaning, does anyone? Okay, first of all, who here is not familiar with the certification and validation process of what we do? Okay, is there anyone who's not certified that needs to do the classroom presentation and get checked off for that? James Anderson.
Is that my full name?
James Anderson champion. If you want me to certify you, I will. If you want, I don't know who are you certified to certify?
She's
whatever.
We both are.
Okay. Then just
four of us who are validated.
one of you say who wants to do it, or you pick who you want, and let's get
I
that
said
done
we turn
today.
off the recording for that part though.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
I
how
was
we
also
turn off.
going to say, do you want